campus itself seems not only alive but sentient on a morning like this, and I can't help wondering as I gaze out over so many familiar faces whether you graduating seniors have ever asked yourselves what it must be like to be one of these majestic trees under which you have passed back and forth over the course of your 4 years here at Wofford. Now, I realize that's a very flaky question, like asking whether you've ever thought of yourself as floating in a bowl of Captain Crunch or strutting about in crimson robes on a beautiful May morning. But as I myself strut about in crimson robes, I can easily imagine one of our stately ginkgos shaking its leaves and muttering to itself, "There he goes, and he's late for class again," while the weeping Katsura croons, "Here she comes back from breakfast at Burwell. Just look at what she's wearing today." And then one morning, like tomorrow, for example, one of the callow young dogwoods looks around and asks, "Hey, where'd they all go? What happened to all the students?" At which the old magnolia sighs, "Graduated. It happens every year. You'll get used to it in time." But of course, those of us who have been similarly rooted here for 20 or 30 years never do get used to it. We're feeling all the usual emotions this morning, glad you're about to get your diplomas, sad to see you moving on. And I have to confess that as one of those semi-permanent campus fixtures, my own emotions are even more mixed than usual, because as I announced just a couple of days ago, I too will graduate in another year with the Wofford class of 2013. So I am sharing some of the excitement and apprehension that you seniors must feel about what's coming next. You are heading off to jobs and further study, and so am I in a way. I plan to devote more time to my commitments here and abroad and to sharpening my skills at the game of sepak takraw, which I have sadly neglected during my dozen years as president. And of course, if I'm ever going to get serious about Australian rules football, the time is clearly now, or it will be by the end of the next academic year. I should add that, unlike you, I plan to return after sabbatical leave to resume my role as the Chaplain Family Professor in the Humanities. But you too will be coming back again and again as Wofford alumni. And one day, as I pointed out yesterday afternoon, you really will sit here again in robes as 50-year veterans, come back to lead your grandchildren's generation out into the world. I can assure you that your honor guard this morning remembers exactly what you're feeling now, as if it were yesterday. So it's not too early for you and me to be sure we agree on what it means to count ourselves among those who have been so deeply marked by our time at Wofford College. Times will change with incredible swiftness. And even now, the college is entering upon another long-term planning process that will redefine its character and its mission. There will, of course, be a national search for my successor, and quite possibly someone of great ability and distinction but little acquaintance with Wofford will be standing here year after next, with her own ideas to be sure, but dependent on what you users and providers have to say regarding what we have been and what we hope to be. Let me begin an answer that you and many others will be asked to amplify. First of all, we are what we have been, a superb residential liberal arts college, dedicated to the unfettered pursuit of knowledge and the creative search for truth. That last phrase is the work of Don Fowler, who graduated, as you are doing today, some 55 years ago, leaving his jersey hung forever in the rafters of Ben Johnson Arena, going on to a distinguished career in politics and communications, which included a stint as the national chairman of the Democratic Party, and returning out of sheer loyalty to serve during a large part of my presidency as Wofford's Director of Marketing and Communications. In many respects, especially those of loyalty, versatility, and passionate conviction. He is a model for all of us. But there have been many others, beginning with Ben Wofford himself, a Methodist minister whose mistakes in life included owning other human beings as if they were property, and whose virtues were those of a skinflint as well as a shrewd investor, but who, on his deathbed, in consultation with a fellow minister, H.A.C. Walker, decided to found a college, spreading, working, increasing in power and goodness through the ages. And in that last-minute act of generosity and vision, he earned the gratitude of many generations. It's not my intention to condescend to our great benefactor, but in my mind at least, he stands as a constant reminder that it is never too late to redeem whatever we might regret. A thought that, actuarially speaking, is more immediately relevant to me than it is at this moment to you. But I would also call your attention to the role of Hugh Andrew Crawford Walker, who, having been born in County Antrim, Ireland, made his way improbably to Spartanburg, where he was ordained as a Methodist minister and was named in Ben Wofford's will as one of our original trustees. It was in his memory that at the beginning of my presidency, his descendants restored the bell that rings above our heads today. And its message, if Wofford and Walker could give it one, is surely captured in those words that the latter proposed to the former as he lay on the threshold of eternity, and that I should repeat, as we do each time the Wofford prayer is uttered. Why not found a college, spreading, working, increasing in power and goodness through the ages? Let that eloquent aspiration, too, ever be part of our watchword. And as we take stock in the coming year and a half, I trust it will be obvious to all that though we have grown in numerous ways since those early beginnings, that noble intent of spreading, working, increasing in power and goodness is directed not merely at the college as an ongoing institution, but to each of us, to students, to faculty, to staff, alumni, trustees, all who know and love what Wofford is and has been. To be sure, there have been difficult episodes in the years since that deathbed conversation, and on occasion, exigencies have required some hard decisions. Salaries have gone unpaid in the darkest of days. Positions have been eliminated, and over the past few years, we have steered adroitly through some turbulent seas. But as was said first by another man of the cloth, whose life overlapped with Ben Wofford's, ships are safe in the harbor, but that is not what ships are for. The creative search for truth does not involve mere platitudes, and one cannot grow and spread without incurring risks. What is crucial is never forgetting our goal of increasing in power and goodness, and assuring those like you as you leave these leafy precincts that you are indeed part of a never-ending army of the just, marching forth into the world to make it a better, fairer, happier place. Nonetheless, we should pause in the midst of this morning's celebration to remember those who gave and gave until they could give no more, or who in some instances were told that what they had to give was no longer among the things most needed by the college, or who gave without being asked if in fact they wanted to give, like the builders of Old Main behind me. We must remember to take care of one another, all of us, of every race, creed, gender, and persuasion. And when hard decisions are required, we must keep that principle alive in the name of all who have gone before us, giving so much to Wofford and to us. Some of the names are familiar: James Carlisle and Henry Nelson Snyder, leaders who had also taught in the classroom and who, whatever their roles at the college, remained true teachers to the end. Lewis Jones, the patron saint of all who subscribe to the belief that true scholarship and great teaching are in every sense compatible. Joab Lassane, Dan Malsby, Mike Ayers, who live the lessons they have preached, Roger Milliken, Mike Brown, Ed Reeves, and Jerry Richardson, whose munificence has matched and even exceeded that of our founder. Mike James, one of our own whom we honor today, and Shandor Tesla, who came to us from afar and who by his presence and example made us better and braver. The roll call of Wofford's saints and heroes is long and majestic, and their memory casts its shade like these noble trees around us, adding new women and men each year, new students, staff, professors, and trustees who understand explicitly that teaching and learning are the essence of what we do, that a broad-based liberal arts curriculum is the surest preparation for a truly successful career in the world beyond our gates, and that the ultimate meaning of life lies not merely in practical skills, but in knowing who we are and what we believe and having the courage to live accordingly. These are among the things we stand for today, as we have for well over a century and a half. You graduating seniors embody these ideas. They live in you this morning as surely as they tumbled out of the mind of H.A.C. Walker so many years ago. And if all those who have gathered here to applaud you have done the job they intended, those ideas will be part of you forever, and we are part of each other. Now it's on to wondrous new beginnings, to mornings that churn with business, law, and medicine, to evenings with Shakespeare, Bach, and Lady Gaga, to long, ferocious weekends of sepak takraw and Australian rules football. And amidst all that, an assurance of who we are and what we believe, and the courage to live accordingly. May the God whose benevolent concern includes each tree and leaf on this planet and every living thing bless you all for that on this beautiful spring morning. Dean Wood will now announce the 2012 honor graduates and present the candidates for baccalaureate degrees. This graduation exercise also includes those who completed their work in February 2012 and some who will complete their program of study the upcoming summer term. There will be a few degrees awarded in absentia. Dean Wood.
Will the junior marshals please escort Paulo Miguel Arce, Ashley Ann Price, Arsalan Amin Mohammed Salahani, and Joseph Hiram Maccabee to the stage. This year's honor graduates all earned a 4.0 GPA, and all four were inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. Paulo Miguel Arce is a chemistry major. Ashley Ann Price is a history and biology major. Arsalan Amin Mohammed Salahani is a biology major with a concentration in neuroscience, and Joseph Hiram Maccabee is likewise a biology major with a concentration in neuroscience. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the 2012 honor graduates at Wofford College. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts and the degree of Bachelor of Science please stand? Mr. President, the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and the degree of Bachelor of Science have been duly instructed and examined by the faculty and been found worthy. On behalf of the faculty, I present them for the conferring of their appropriate degree. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the state of South Carolina,
Upon the completion of all graduation requirements, with the recommendation of the faculty and the approval of the Board of Trustees of Wofford College, I confer upon each of you, as appropriate to your course of study, the degree of Bachelor of Arts and/or Bachelor of Science.
Gregory Bates Adair. James Michael Arrakis II. Misha Danielle Arant, cum laude. Sarah Ashley Asamani. Catherine Allison Bailey. John Montgomery Bailey, cum laude. Joseph Robert Bailey. Neely Rose Bailey. Jordan Mark Ball. James Andrew Ballard, cum laude. Ellison Litton Barber. Perry Nicole Barr, cum laude. David Pentris Barton, Jr. Daniel Aaron Beck. Brenton Matthew Burson. Sarah Kiesler Blackman, cum laude. Keely Maureen Blake. Zachary Tyler Bob. Bradford Ritter Bracey. Mason Lawrence Bradley. Caitlin Rose Bradshaw. Tara Lee Brannon. James Michael Brashear. Kendall Marion Bratcher. Ann Carol Breeden. Stephen Eric Breitenstein. Hayes Christopher Brown, magna cum laude. Christian Kime Buff, cum laude. Casey Michelle Calvert, cum laude. Catherine Rose Candler. John Henry Cannon. John Thomas Cannon. Zachary Edward Cabbs. Charles Weston Caswell. Elizabeth Sullivan Cheatham. Jacob Matthew Clayton. Jonathan Richard Clayton. Jordan Michael Clayton. Chanel Travana Clyburn. Kyle Scott Cochran. Jennifer Lane Coggins, summa cum laude. Philip Cash Collins, cum laude. Catherine Breland Connor. Meredith Ann Corby. Ann Elliott Cornick. Sarah Logan Cottingham. Betty Suter Cox, cum laude. Patrick James Craig, Jr., cum laude. Drew Thomas Crowell. Caitlin Renee Culpepper. William Thomas DeLoach, cum laude. Constantine Peter Dimaduris, cum laude. Theron James Dill, cum laude. Wiley McNeil Doyle II. Beckham Pate Dunbar. Carrie Alexandra Eady, cum laude. Eric Charles Eberhardt. Stephen Brian Eddy. Chelsea Kent Elliott, cum laude. Elliot Chase Farmer. Lavadrick Jermaine Farrar. Joshua Reese Fester, magna cum laude. Tyler Scott Finney. Ann Beaudre Fortson. James Edward Foster. Nathan Carl Francis. Douglas Van Meter Gabbert, Jr. Victoria Alexander Gadian. Mary Frances Golphin, cum laude. Charlotte DeBose Gant. Rebecca Ruth Gardner. Christopher Andrew Gerwig, cum laude. Mary Caitlin Gilliland, magna cum laude. Kevin Zachary Gilton. Nicholas Haltien Ginocchio in absentia. Nicole Christine Gerard. Shatil Sydney Ann Goodman. Robert Pinckney Garrell III. Brianna Michelle Grant. Courtney Leanne Green. Randall Ray Green, Jr. Jeanette Hope Griffin, cum laude. Joseph James Gromer. James Gordon Gulledge III. Elizabeth Pauline Hall. Caroline Adele Haney. Shelby Page Hardy. Maverick Christian Harris. Matthew Brody Hart. Charles Cradian Heatherly III, in absentia. Jeffrey Paul Heiser, cum laude. Anne McMeekin Hurlong. Morgan Brittany Heiler. Rianne Satterley Hinton. Amy Elizabeth Horton. Emily Mackenzie Howe. Justice Martin Huff. Sarah Virginia Hurt. Rachel Lee Iannazoni. David Whitney Jackson III. Macaulay Thornhill James. Hannah Maka Jarrett, cum laude. Kristen Alexandra Jenkins. Michaela Perketta Ruthietta Jeter. Claire Ann Johnson. Michael Allgood Johnson Jr. Samuel Lewis Johnson. Mary Catherine Jolly. Ricky Sanchez Jones. James Richard Cavanaugh. Merritt Ann Kiesler. Alexander Ross Keene. Ellis Wilson Kine. James Obear Kempson III. Catherine Anderson King. Henry Lucius Lafitte III. Elizabeth Eugenia Lambert, cum laude. James Harshaw Lane III, magna cum laude. Ashley Aaron Lawrence, summa cum laude. Ann Spencer Lee. Hannah Jean Lermot. Bradley Alexander Losing, summa cum laude. Megan Ruth Lyons, cum laude. Philip Carter Mahoney. Elizabeth Hankins Mayer. Anson Rebecca Marcotte. Athanasios Mastricolius, pardon me. Ryan Lewis Maddie. Alexandra Claire McCoubry. Franklin Raymond McIntyre IV. James Campbell Metters Jr. Jacob Lee Miles. Sally Caroline Mobley. Alexandra Ruth Moore, cum laude. Sarah Patricia Moore, magna cum laude. April Rayanne Morehouse. Lisa Layla Morris, cum laude. Daniel Livingston Moyd IV. Edward Whiteford Mungo. Jack Patrick Murphy, cum laude. Christina George Nafa, cum laude. Michael Edward Nyam. Peter Andrew Nordzi, cum laude. Sarah Ruth Oates. Leah Kristen Odom. Kathleen Margaret O'Kelly. Kevin Haygood O'Quinn. Justin David Osborne. Nathan Henry Page in absentia. Amit Paul in absentia. Andrew Rise Parrish, cum laude. Christopher James Pettit. Amanda Eileen Phillips. Ann Nicole Phillips. Dixon Brian Pitt. Allison Nicole Poole. Samuel Jensen Quave. Maggie Elizabeth Raines. Joseph Francis Reddy, Jr. Caitlin Patricia Rebelar, in absentia. Sydney Ellis Reed. Caroline Andrea Reed. Thomas Allen Ress. Cameron Stowe Ryan. Domus Rinxalis in absentia. Brandon Michael Robinson, summa cum laude. John Rutledge Robinson, in absentia. Galia Guri Rodriguez. David Winston Roney, magna cum laude. Preston Ellis Roseborough, in absentia. Theodore Anthony Rowland IV, cum laude. Clayton Samuel Ruff. Randolph Baxter Russell. Amanda Taylor Saka. Whitney Eugene Sanders Jr., magna cum laude. Wesley Lucas Satterwhite, cum laude. Thomas Alton Schnibbin, magna cum laude. Stephanie Lynn Seppala. Ellen Elizabeth Schrader. Nathita Maya Sims. Charles Hampton Skidmore. James Cecil Skinner, cum laude. Elizabeth Marshall Smeek. Alan Jerome Smith II. Constance Eleanor Smith, cum laude. Emily Ann Smith. Catherine Lacey Smith, cum laude. Thomas Hunter Soltis. Nicole Sowers. Fraser Cameron Speaks. Paul William Stagmeyer. William Griffin Starnes. Barbara Jane Stacy. Matthew Todd Stillman, cum laude. Kirby Rivers Stone. Jessica Elaine Strong. Bonnie Elizabeth Amanda Stroop. Tyler Bateman Swain, magna cum laude. Joseph David Takasua. Joseph Carter Tecklenburg, cum laude. Edward Palmer Tewksbury, Jr. Catherine Preston Thomas, magna cum laude. Jessica K. Tobin. Matthew Satoshi Tobin. Burwell Boykin Clark Todd. Kelly Corrigan Turn. Joshua Christopher Turner. Connor Rose Twyman. Tinas Van Wyk. Lorena Moritza Vega. Faith Francis Waitman. Martha Glazner Walker, magna cum laude. Matthew Sachs Walker. Courtney Marie Walls. Stephanie Michelle Walrath, cum laude. Benjamin Thomas Walsh. Elizabeth Lee Walters. Lauren Michelle Watts. Hannah Claire Wheeler. Alexander Harold White. John William White. Taylor Reinhardt White. Timothy John White. Brent Alston Whitehead, cum laude. Hannah Lee Williams. Hallie Marie Welm. Lucas Keith Wingo. Marion Elizabeth Wolfe, cum laude. Benjamin Charles Wright, cum laude. Brian Stephen Yeoman. Andrew Patrick Young, in absentia. Lindsay Carter Zaire. We will now present the candidates for the dual degree of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. Lauren Michelle Barter, cum laude. Alex Stein Bowman. Stephen Russell Bryant, cum laude. Ryan Neal Campbell. Christina Lee Dukes, cum laude. Jennifer Lynn Fisher. Monroe Patrick Griffin, magna cum laude. Jordan Lauren Hardy. Emma Kiana Hughes. Quinn Douglas Hunt, magna cum laude. Joseph Alexander Inman, in absentia. Tian Fan Lei. Ethan Kopang Miller. Ashley Ann Price, summa cum laude. Richardson Gilliard Sebra, cum laude. Helen Christine Shelton, summa cum laude. Allison Kate Tolbert, magna cum laude. Cesar Jesus Ravago Tria. Kevin Bart Tucker, Jr. We will now present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science. Jonathan Ray Addison. Mitchell Charles Allen, summa cum laude, in absentia. Paulo Miguel Arce, cum laude. Matthew Lee Arsenault, magna cum laude. David Logan Barnett. Elizabeth Marie Bassett, magna cum laude. Zachary William Beaver, summa cum laude. Afton Michelle Blackwell. Victoria Christine Bone. Lauren Reynolds Bowyer. Ricardo McKinley Braxton. Kristen Marie Brown, cum laude. Amber Linnell Buntrick, cum laude. Caroline Capshaw Burdette, magna cum laude. Jamie McKenzie Cannon. Michael Calvin Cantrell. Sarah Marie Catalana, summa cum laude. James Say Chappell. Brittany Darlene Coker. Dominique Nicole Cox, cum laude. Campbell Davies Cox, Jr. Kelly Elise Crawford, in absentia. Holden Scott Crosby. Martha Ann Richardson DeBerry, cum laude. Marshall Andrew Diven, magna cum laude. Jesse David Dixon. Andrew Ryan Drennan. Vivian Nicole Eliopoulos. Albert McCatherine Ellison. Atticus James Fell. Taylor Lee Finnick. Samantha Renee Flowers, in absentia. Nathan David Folks. Gordon Taylor France. Caroline Rose Franks. Elizabeth Scardon Garrison, cum laude. H.J. Alexander Goldtree. Joshua George Gross. Irene Minas Halkias. Jesse Alonzo Hanley. Patrick Wayne Harbor, magna cum laude. Bianca Nicole Harmon. Lauren Amanda Hernandez Rubio. Marie Annette Hughes. David Michael Hilsman. Stephanie Olivia Beth Hoffer, cum laude. Timothy Michael Jennings, in absentia. Christopher DeGraffenreid Keenan, Jr. Sidney Conyers Klein. Stephanie Jean Liness. Caroline Patricia Liddy. Kimberly Allen Lockwood. Emily Christine Lober. Ariana Cantrell Martin. Carrie Elizabeth Martin. Joseph Hiram Maccabee, summa cum laude. Gwendolyn Jane McDaniel. Maggie Elizabeth McLaughlin. Adrian Rashad McClellan, cum laude. James Casper Mills IV, summa cum laude. Monte Arian Monroe. Catherine Crosby Moore. Travis Michael Muthig, summa cum laude. Sean Hugh Wynn, summa cum laude. Bradley Joseph Nosek. Craig Philip Novak. Margaret Casey O'Brien, summa cum laude. Mary Catherine O'Brien, summa cum laude. Ryan Peter O'Laughlin. Christopher Eric Olson. Anne Griffin Peterson, magna cum laude. Robert Lawrence Patterson. Nathaniel Hunter Raquette. Hannah Free Report, cum laude. Alston Garrett Rawl. Alexander Gage Revels. Hillary Grace Riley, magna cum laude. Warren Benet Ritter II. Stuart Dudley Robertson, magna cum laude. Kenton Hayes Roush. William Spencer Russell, cum laude. Regis Rutarungu, cum laude. Arsalan Amin Muhammad Salahani, summa cum laude. Michael Anthony Scott, in absentia. Haley Nicole Sims. Wiley Nicholas Davis Sincus, cum laude. Thomas Edward Toffel. Jean Umahire. Sorry. Catherine Grace Teal. J. Norris Novoski Thomas. Nicholas Lee Waddell. Whitney Lane Walker, cum laude. Caitlin Hunter Watkins, cum laude. Christopher Michael White, cum laude. Jenna Denise White, cum laude. Megan Olivia Wilson. Charles Tyler Womble. Bedford McNair Wooten. Josh Gordon Wright. William David Wind. Alexandra Christina Zeldenrust.
Will all of the recipients of bachelor's degrees please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, the Wofford class of 2012 goes forth, and the world will be better for it. Now that the degrees have been conferred, I want to extend my congratulations and best wishes not only to all who today have become Wofford graduates and distinguished recipients of honorary degrees, but to parents, to spouses, relatives, and friends who have helped to make this triumphant moment possible.
Dear class of 2012, go from here to serve the greater good, and may those to whom compassion is a stranger find in each and every one of you a very generous friend. Go in peace. Amen.